Look at that title, please. It speaks directly to the most subtle, most intoxicating form of human vanity, the desire for psychological power. You want a list, a formula, 18 secret keys to instantly read, decode, and therefore gain an advantage over the person standing in front of you. You want to see through them without first seeing through yourself. But we must refuse the premise entirely. The inquiry is not about techniques of reading others. It is about the total, radical clarity required to read oneself. The moment you have read the book, which is yourself, the entire history of mankind, you will find that there is no other to read, only the reflection of your own confusion. There is no magical list of 18 truths. There is only one devastating truth. Your consciousness is the consciousness of mankind. The fear, the greed, the ambition, the illusion, the capacity for extraordinary cruelty and extraordinary beauty that you observe in others is not separate from the consciousness you call yours. Don't forget to leave us a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and tell us in the comments. What topic would you most like to see us cover next? We must use the structure of your question, the idea of a numerical list, as a scaffolding for a relentless, surgical investigation into the 18 pillars of the unawakened mind. If you cease to be defined by these 18 movements, you will possess an intelligence that can read the whole human story instantly. The 9 movements of the fragmented self. The first 9 truths are not about the other person. They are the unavoidable psychological laws governing the unawakened me. 1. The myth of psychological time, the unending story. The sleeping mind is perpetually trapped in psychological time. It lives in the memory of yesterday's pleasure, which it seeks to repeat, and the fear of tomorrow's pain, which it seeks to avoid. This movement of becoming, striving to be better, wiser, or more enlightened, is the very structure of illusion. You cannot read anyone who is trapped in time, because they are merely a ghost of the past trying to grasp the future. 2. The illusion of security, the root of conflict. Every relationship, every ambition, every belief system is based on the desperate search for psychological security. This search creates conflict, for security, permanence, is an illusion in the flowing current of life. The need to cling to people, to ideas, to property, is what makes you and the other person perpetually available to fear, jealousy, and sorrow. 3. The violence of idealism, the escape from fact. The unawakened mind lives by ideals, what it should be. The person you're trying to read, and yourself, is constantly struggling between what is the fact and what should be the ideal. This struggle is the most common form of inner violence and contradiction. The ideal is merely an escape from the pain of the fact, and the person who escapes is unknowable. 4. The poison of effort, the distortion of clarity. The unawakened mind believes in effort, the strenuous struggle to change the fact into the ideal. But every effort distorts the mind and destroys clarity. The only action that brings fundamental change is the total, non-directional observation of the fact. A mind straining with effort is incapable of perceiving anything truly, including the nature of the person sitting across from it. 5. The slavery of authority, the loss of light. To follow a guru, a master, a scripture, or an ideology is to trade your own light for slavery. The moment you accept external authority in the spiritual realm, you destroy your capacity for radical, self-generated inquiry. The follower is forever weak and cannot read the complexity of life, because his motive is reward and fear, not pure perception. 6. The indivisibility of pleasure and fear, the self-destructive cycle. The person in front of you is a slave to the twin actions of pleasure and fear, which are inseparable products of thought. The craving for the repetition of past delight inevitably breeds the fear of future loss. If you can read a person's craving, you have instantly read their greatest fear. 7. The image is the wound, the source of offense. The person you observe is operating from a fragile, accumulated image of themselves, the me. They are constantly available to injury because they're defending this ghost. The depth of a person's offense is the exact measure of their psychological vanity. The moment the image is challenged, the person is revealed in their most reactive, primitive form. 8. The illusion of individuality, the universal fear. The person you are observing is not an isolated individual. Their consciousness, their greed, their ambition, their sorrow, their belief in God, is the consciousness of all mankind. As detailed in the file, Is There Any Survival After Death PDF. Trying to read them as unique is a fundamental error. Read the universal human condition, and you have read the individual instantly. 9. The deception of words, the vain exchange. The person speaking to you is not telling you the truth about themselves, but merely offering an exchange of words, concepts, and labels. The word is never the thing. They are hiding their internal terror behind verbal complexity and intellectual traps. The awakened mind listens not to the words, but to the silence, the fear, and the unexamined sorrow beneath the sound. Don't forget to leave us a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and tell us in the comments. What topic would you most like to see us cover next? 2. The 9 actions of total observation. The remaining 9 truths are the immediate perceptions that arise when your mind is free of the first 9 poisons. This is the act of reading without the filter of your own accumulation. 10. The non-directional attention, the sharpness of the brain. To read anyone instantly, your brain must be so sharp, so alert without any motive, without any direction. As detailed in the file, Is There Any Survival After Death PDF. You are not looking for a conclusion or a specific answer. You are merely attending to the totality of the other person's being. This non-directional focus is the highest form of energy. 11. The observer is the observed, the end of judgment. You cannot read another person while judging them, because the judge, the observer, is merely the projection of your own fragmentation. The observer is the observed. When you realize this, all judgment ceases, and you see the other person's confusion as your own human confusion. This absence of internal conflict creates a space for total perception. 12. The power of unavailability, the end of reaction. The person reveals themselves most clearly when they're expecting a reaction, a defense, or an argument. To read them instantly, you must stop being available to their demands and their projections. When you meet their challenge with non-reaction, the truth of their fear, their dependence, their vanity is instantly exposed because their aggressive energy falls back upon themselves. 13. The total clarity of fact, the rejection of idealism. You read a person by seeing the fact. What is, without the filter of what they should be or what you wish them to be. The unawakened mind is burdened by the ideal. The awakened mind sees the raw, immediate fact of their contradiction. This clarity is the order that is virtue, as described in the file 1267.pdf. 14. The energy of listening, the unheard silence. Listen with your entire being, not just your intellect. Listen not to the content of their speech, but to the total energy they are transmitting, their restlessness, their anxiety, their loneliness, their suppressed desire. This deep listening, unclouded by your own opinion, reveals the inner life instantly. 15. The perception of contradiction, the source of disorder. All unawakened life is a series of contradictions. The person speaks of peace, but lives violently. They speak of love, but act out of possessiveness and fear. To read a person is to see, in one glance, the precise geometry of their contradictions. This disorder is the truth of the human psyche. 16. The absence of accumulation, the clean surface. The brain that is free from the burden of its own psychological accumulation, free from past hurts and future fears, is a clean surface. It can register the truth of the other person without distortion. It is like a clear pool of water that perfectly reflects the sky without holding onto the image. This non-accumulating state is the only state of true intelligence. 17. The action without motive, the highest form of love. When you are reading a person from this state of total clarity, there is no motive, no motive to use, to judge, to save, or to correct. This non-motivated seeing is the highest form of attention, and that attention, free from fear and dependence, is the only possible ground for love. 18. The book is over. The end of the reader. You achieve the ability to read anyone instantly the moment you realize that the book is over. As mentioned in the file, Is There Any Survival After Death PDF? The book is the accumulated self, the history of mankind. When you have read it in one glance, when the brain is supremely alert, you cease to be a separate reader and simply become the seeing itself. In that instant, there's only one vast, interconnected consciousness, and the problem of reading anyone vanishes entirely.